This line may spark a little memory in your brain. School may be out for the summer, but is it really out forever? It's never a bad idea to expand your knowledge of our state's history.
Thank you, Alice. Starting next Tuesday, you can do just that in the Museum of Cultural and Natural History on the campus of CMU. Kaylee and Corey stopped by Mount Pleasant to show you all the museum has to offer.
Good morning, guys. Well, the next part of our tour focuses on something that Michigan has a lot of, and that's wildlife. And I'm here with Bill Pretzer, the museum director at the Museum of Cultural and Natural History on CMU's campus. So, Bill, tell us a little bit about the exhibits and what you'll be talking about during Tour Tuesdays in regards to Michigan's wildlife.
Well, as you said, Michigan is full with wildlife, and yet a lot of the folks who live down south in Michigan aren't very familiar with the kind of wildlife we have. And so what we've got here is an exhibition that displays Michigan wildlife, everything from bats to walleye fish. We cover birds and mammals and fish and try to give people a sense of the wildlife that they might encounter when they're in the more rural areas of Michigan.
Yeah, and certainly anyone who's lived in northern Michigan for any length of time, there's a good chance they've probably run across these guys before.
Exactly. These are Michigan brown bears. They're very common in northern Michigan. And in fact, several hundred are killed each year by hunters during the hunting season. In these particular instances, we have examples of brown bears that were found having died of natural causes, and they were taxidermied here on campus. And we make them part of the display so that people who aren't familiar with these kinds of animals can have a sense of what they might hear or sound like or see when they're in rural Michigan.
Right, and get a better idea of just how big these animals are compared to just looking at pictures.
Exactly. They start out very small. The little cub here was probably only a pound or two when he was born, but he'll grow up to be, or would have grown up to be, 400 or 500 pounds, which sounds pretty big, but they're not as big as grizzly bears.
Right.
We do have two examples of grizzly bears that were originally from British Columbia and Alaska, and they run upwards of 1,800 pounds apiece and are 9 feet tall when standing on their hind legs. So they dwarf these guys. But Michigan brown bears are pretty common, and they're something that you want to be aware of when you're out in the woods, because they're not cuddly little pets. They are wild animals, as are the hawks and the owls, and even the walleye, who sometimes have sharp teeth.
Right, you want to be aware of those things. All right, guys, a lot more to learn here at the Museum of Cultural and Natural History in Mount Pleasant. We'll be back.
But they are cute, just not cuddly.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, from a distance.
From a distance. Bette
Bet.
Midler. From
Alice
Alice
to
Cooper to
Bette,
Bette Midler,
right?
all in 5 minutes, Jim.